Supply chain analysts and retail economists share a common frustration. The public conversation about food availability almost always arrives too late. By the time consumers notice a product missing from a shelf, the decision to remove it was made anywhere from 6 to 18 months earlier, buried inside a quarterly margin review that never made headlines. This is not speculation. It is the operational reality of how modern grocery retail functions. The grocery industry operates on some of the thinnest profit margins of any consumer-facing business sector. Average net margins across major grocery chains hover between 1.5% and 3%. To protect those margins, category buyers, the people responsible for deciding what occupies each square inch of shelf space, conduct continuous performance evaluations on every SKU in their inventory. A SKU, or stock keeping unit, is simply a unique product identifier. Each one has a velocity score, a margin percentage, and a space productivity calculation attached to it. When those numbers fall below acceptable thresholds, the product does not get a public announcement, it simply stops being reordered. Shelf facings shrink, then they disappear. Then something with a better margin takes the space, and most shoppers assume it was always that way. What follows is an analytical breakdown of specific product categories currently in that process. Products being removed not because of quality failure or consumer rejection, but because of margin mathematics, import logistics pressures, and retail consolidation strategies that most shoppers have no visibility into. Understanding these mechanisms allows you to make proactive decisions rather than reactive ones. Each product in this analysis will be examined across 3 dimensions: the commercial reason for its removal, the nutritional or functional gap its absence creates, and the practical case for acquiring it before availability declines. We begin at the outer edges of the list and work toward the most significant removal currently in progress. Product 12, evaporated milk, the shelf-stable dairy anchor being displaced by trend-driven alternatives. The canned dairy section of any major grocery store is undergoing a quiet structural transformation. Evaporated milk, an unsweetened concentrated dairy product produced by removing approximately 60% of water content from fresh milk, is losing shelf allocation at 2 major national chains in 2026. The space is being redirected toward plant-based dairy alternatives, oat milk, almond milk, and barista blend products that carry gross margins significantly above the 8 to 12% danger zone that shelf-stable dairy typically occupies. To understand why this matters, it helps to first clear up the most common consumer confusion in this product category. Evaporated milk and sweetened condensed milk are not the same product. They are manufactured differently, used differently, and nutritionally distinct. Condensed milk contains substantial added sugar and functions primarily as a baking and dessert ingredient. Evaporated milk contains no added sweeteners, has a protein density that exceeds most shelf-stable plant-based alternatives, and can replicate full cream milk simply by reconstituting with an equal volume of water. From a nutritional standpoint, the protein and fat profile of evaporated milk is not replicated by oat or almond alternatives. Those products serve a different dietary function. The retail decision to prioritize them is driven by consumer trend data and margin performance, not by equivalent nutritional substitutability. The operational case for stocking evaporated milk before its shelf space shrinks comes down to one core vulnerability in every household food system: refrigeration dependence. Every conventional dairy product in a standard refrigerator has a failure window measured in hours during a power disruption. Evaporated milk eliminates that vulnerability entirely. A sealed can carries a manufacturer-stated shelf life of 2 or more years at room temperature. Reconstituted, it functions across every application that fresh milk serves: coffee, cooking, baking, or direct consumption. A supplementary preparation worth noting: the fat content of full-fat evaporated milk is sufficient to produce a cream-like texture when the unopened can is pre-chilled and the contents are aerated vigorously after opening. This technique, used in professional food service contexts, produces a whipped topping that performs comparably to commercial cream substitutes. A single can costs under $2.00 at current pricing. Acquiring a rotating stock of this product before store brand SKUs are phased out represents a straightforward hedge against a foreseeable reduction in availability. Product 11. Pure canned pumpkin, a nutritional dense staple being reclassified as seasonal. The retail categorization of pure canned pumpkin is shifting. Several large grocery chains are in the process of reclassifying it from a year-round staple to a seasonal item, with consistent stocking windows narrowing to September through November. The commercial logic behind this decision is straightforward. Pumpkin sales data shows extreme seasonal concentration, with revenue peaking sharply in autumn and flattening significantly across the remaining 9 months. On thin margins, a product that underperforms for 3/4 of the year becomes a prime candidate for shelf space reallocation. The problem with this categorization is that it conflates the commercial identity of the product with its nutritional one. Pure canned pumpkin, not pumpkin pie filling, which contains added sugars and spices and is an entirely different product, is among the most nutritionally efficient foods available at this price point. A single cup delivers approximately 245% of the recommended daily value of vitamin A through beta-carotene, a carotenoid antioxidant that the body converts to retinol. That concentration exceeds the beta-carotene content of carrots on a per-cup basis. The same serving provides more dietary fiber than a comparable volume of oatmeal at roughly 83 calories total. What retail categorization entirely ignores is the culinary versatility that makes pure pumpkin valuable outside of traditional seasonal applications. Its flavor profile is mild to the point of near neutrality, which means it functions as an invisible nutritional extender in savory applications. Added to chili, soup, or tomato-based pasta sauce, it increases volume, fiber content, and micronutrient density without detectably altering the flavor profile of the dish. The supply-side implication of the seasonal reclassification is predictable. Once year-round stocking ends, the brief autumn window will experience concentrated demand from every household that treats this as a regular ingredient. Shelf clearance in that window will be rapid. Acquiring inventory during the current period of unrestricted availability at a typical price of around 1.29 cents per 15-ounce can is a straightforward response to a foreseeable availability compression. Product 10, canned diced green chilies. The morale variable most preparedness analysis ignores. At 89 cents per 4-ounce can, diced green chilies occupy one of the lowest price points in the canned goods aisle. 2 large national chains are eliminating store-brand green chili SKUs in 2026, redirecting that shelf space to salsa and higher-margin condiment products. When store brands exit, the price floor for this product category rises to approximately $2.50 per unit for name-brand equivalents, a roughly 180% price increase for an identical product. The budget argument alone is sufficient to justify attention here, but the more analytically interesting case for this product is not economic, it is neurological. Conventional preparedness and emergency nutrition analysis focuses almost exclusively on macronutrient profiles: calories, protein, fat, carbohydrates. This framework is physiologically accurate as far as it goes, but it consistently underweights a variable that documented emergency response research identifies as a primary driver of functional decline in extended disruption scenarios: food fatigue. Military nutrition science and disaster psychology literature have both documented the pattern. Physical caloric sufficiency can be maintained while psychological engagement with food deteriorates sharply within 2 to 3 weeks of monotonous dietary exposure. When food fatigue sets in, voluntary caloric intake decreases, decision-making quality around resource management declines, and anxiety levels elevate, all in the presence of adequate physical nutrition. The subjective experience of eating matters functionally, not just aesthetically. Capsaicin, the bioactive compound responsible for the heat in chili peppers, triggers a documented endorphin response through a neurological pathway that operates independently of expectation or psychological priming. The physiological mood effect is measurable and does not require spicy food preference to activate. A small amount of dietary heat modifies how the brain processes a meal experience. This is documented biochemistry applied to a practical problem. Additionally, a 4-ounce can of green chilies delivers approximately 45% of the daily recommended vitamin C intake, a micronutrient particularly critical for immune function and iron absorption. 12 cans represent a supply approaching 1 year at 2 servings per week at a total cost of under $11. The morale and micronutrient case for this product at its current price point is difficult to argue against analytically. If you're finding this analysis valuable, take 2 seconds to hit like and subscribe. It helps this research reach the people who need it most, and drop a comment below telling us which product on this list surprised you most. Product 9, canned chickpeas, the resistant starch distinction that changes the nutritional math. The canned bean aisle presents an illusion of uniform adequacy. A shopper looking at that section sees beans, protein, fiber, shelf-stable, inexpensive, What that surface-level assessment misses is that different legume species have meaningfully different nutritional profiles, and those differences matter more when the pantry becomes a primary food source rather than a supplement to regular grocery access. 3 large chains are consolidating canned bean SKUs in 2026. Chickpeas are among the primary targets for reduction. The velocity data drives this decision. Black beans and kidney beans move faster. In shelf space economics, velocity is nearly everything. A slower turning product occupying the same linear footage as a faster turning one is, from a buyer's perspective, simply a misallocation of productive space. The nutritional distinction that makes chickpea reduction specifically significant is resistant starch content. Resistant starch is a form of carbohydrate that, unlike conventional digestible starches, bypasses enzymatic breakdown in the small intestine and passes largely intact into the large intestine, where it functions as a prebiotic substrate for beneficial gut bacteria. The physiological effects documented in nutritional research include improved satiety duration, moderated postprandial blood glucose elevation, and support for gut microbiome diversity. In a dietary context dominated by shelf-stable processed carbohydrates, these effects are not marginal. Blood glucose stability influences energy consistency, concentration, and mood. A food that moderates glucose spikes in a carbohydrate-heavy eating environment provides a tangible functional advantage. No other common canned bean delivers the same resistant starch profile at a comparable price. Current pricing sits below 150 cents per 15-ounce can for store-brand chickpeas. Once consolidation is complete and organic alternatives occupy the remaining shelf space, price points in the 3.50 SAO, 1 B to fur plant $4 range become the new floor for this product category. Product 8, fat-free canned refried beans, the dietary restriction casualty hidden in a label similarity. This item requires immediate disambiguation because the shelf presentation actively obscures the relevant distinction. Full-fat refried beans made with lard or vegetable shortening and fat-free refried beans occupy adjacent shelf space under nearly identical labeling. They are different products with different nutritional architectures. The visual similarity of their packaging is commercially incidental, but it contributes directly to the failure of most shoppers to notice when one variant disappears. Fat-free refried bean store-brand SKUs are being discontinued across several regional chains in 2026, particularly within southwestern distribution networks. Full-fat versions outsell fat-free versions. Premium organic lines generate better per-unit margins. From a category management perspective, both data points argue for the same conclusion: eliminate the underperforming variant and expand the higher-margin alternatives. The population this decision affects disproportionately is not the general prepared pantry market. It is the meaningful segment of the population managing cardiovascular health conditions, elevated cholesterol, or medically indicated low-fat dietary protocols. In a normal supply environment, substitution options exist across every grocery store. In a restricted supply environment where pantry contents become the primary dietary resource, the absence of a specific low-fat protein source is a genuine constraint with real physiological consequences. Beyond the dietary restriction argument, fat-free refried beans have an operational profile that no other shelf-stable product in the canned goods aisle replicates. They require zero preparation infrastructure. No heat, no utensils beyond a spoon, no water. A can opened directly delivers approximately 7 grams of protein and 6 grams of dietary fiber in a format that is immediately consumable. Combined with a small quantity of canned green chilies and crackers, the combination represents a complete nutritional unit at approximately 1 BLV for total cost and under 60 seconds of preparation time. That profile is not replicated elsewhere on these shelves. Product 7, 6-ounce canned tomato paste, the format elimination that creates waste and removes a nutritional advantage. Tomato paste is being removed from shelves, but not in the way most people would recognize it. The product itself is not being eliminated, the format is. The 6-ounce can, which has historically been the dominant small kitchen format for this product, is being phased out by multiple national chains in favor of 12-ounce and 28-ounce sizes. The commercial reasoning is straightforward from a packaging economics standpoint. Larger formats cost marginally more to produce but generate substantially more revenue per unit while occupying equivalent shelf space. The margin mathematics favor consolidation toward larger sizes. The practical consequence of this format shift is household food waste at a scale most buyers are not accounting for. A 28-ounce can of tomato paste opened for a recipe calling for 2 tablespoons leaves the majority of the can with a refrigerated shelf life of approximately 5 to 7 days in most real-use scenarios. Small households, single-person households, and families with variable cooking schedules will waste a significant fraction of larger format cans routinely. The 6-ounce format was correctly sized for real domestic use patterns. The nutritional argument for tomato paste specifically, rather than canned crushed tomatoes or tomato sauce, relates to lycopene bioavailability. Heat processing concentrates lycopene, the primary carotenoid antioxidant in tomatoes, and increases its bioavailability through a chemical transformation that does not occur in fresh or minimally processed tomato products. Research published through multiple nutritional epidemiology programs has documented that a single tablespoon of tomato paste delivers greater bioavailable lycopene than a whole fresh tomato. The paste format represents the nutritionally optimal form of this compound, a practical solution to the waste problem associated with larger formats. Portion excess paste into a standard ice cube tray immediately after opening. Each compartment holds approximately 1 tablespoon. Covered and frozen, these cubes maintain quality for up to 6 months and can be retrieved individually as needed, effectively replicating the portioning advantage of the 6-ounce can from a larger format. Acquiring a supply of 6-ounce cans before this format is discontinued preserves that operational flexibility without requiring the workaround. Product 6, full-fat Southeast Asian coconut milk, the import contract casualty hiding behind label similarity. The international aisle of any major grocery store contains a coconut milk category that is actively becoming less nutritionally coherent without any visible indication on the shelving. Full-fat coconut milk from Southeast Asian producers, primarily Thai and Vietnamese brands that have historically anchored this category, is being reduced or eliminated from several large chain contracts due to import economics. Tariff adjustments and supplier margin pressures have made these contracts commercially difficult to sustain. The replacement products moving into that shelf space are domestically produced or regionally sourced coconut milk alternatives that carry significantly lower fat content. The label reads coconut milk. The can sits in the same position, but the nutritional content is materially different. Authentic full-fat Southeast Asian coconut milk typically delivers 14 to 17 grams of fat per serving. Domestic alternatives moving into the same shelf space frequently carry approximately half that figure. The difference is not cosmetic, it reflects a fundamentally different fat-to-water ratio in the product, achieved through different production standards. The nutritional significance centers on medium-chain triglycerides, or MCTs. Unlike long-chain fatty acids, which require lymphatic transport and are processed through standard fat metabolism pathways, MCTs are absorbed directly through the portal vein and metabolized by the liver into ketone bodies, an alternative energy substrate that the brain can utilize efficiently during periods of caloric restriction or stress. Nutritional research has documented associations between MCT consumption and maintenance of cognitive performance under conditions of dietary constraint. This is relevant when food access is restricted and cognitive clarity matters most. Identifying the authentic product requires only a 3-second label check. Anything below 12 grams of fat per serving is a diluted product. 14 to 17 grams per serving indicates the full-fat import version. At Asian specialty grocers, these typically price below $2 per can. At mainstream chains, closer to $2.50, and moving toward the exit of standard distribution. Enjoying the breakdown so far? Like this video if it's been useful, subscribe for more data-driven consumer analysis, and leave a comment, which of these products do you already stock? Product 5, canned coconut cream, the concentrated fat reserve with no shelf-stable equivalent. Coconut cream is frequently conflated with coconut milk, but the distinction between them is quantitatively significant. Coconut cream is produced with a substantially higher coconut-to-water ratio, resulting in a thick, dense, high-fat product with a caloric and fat profile that is categorically different from diluted coconut milk. Refrigerated carton versions of both products found in the dairy alternative section introduce a third category, products with stabilizers, emulsifiers, and a fraction of the fat content found in their canned equivalents. Distribution data from 2025 and early 2026 indicates that several major chains are reducing coconut cream SKU counts significantly. The product moves more slowly than coconut milk, ships at higher per unit cost, and occupies space that buyers have allocated to faster turning items. The gap this creates is specific. Dietary fat is the first macronutrient category to become scarce during supply disruptions because virtually all conventional fat sources, butter, refrigerated oils, dairy products, are perishable. Shelf-stable dense fat sources are structurally rare in standard grocery inventory. Coconut cream at full fat concentration represents one of the most calorie-dense shelf-stable products available in a mainstream store, delivering approximately 445 calories per can with a multi-year room temperature shelf life. Lauric acid, which constitutes a significant fraction of the fatty acid profile in coconut cream, is among the most bioavailable forms of saturated fat, with documented antimicrobial properties and direct metabolic processing characteristics similar to those described for MCTs in the previous section. No other product at this price point and shelf life combination delivers equivalent caloric density from fat sources. Current pricing is approximately 2.790 cents per can. Once SKUs are consolidated and replaced with lower fat alternatives, that specific nutritional profile exits the standard retail market entirely. Product 4, canned mackerel, superior nutritional density penalized by unfamiliarity. The canned fish aisle contains one of the clearest examples of the disconnect between nutritional value and commercial performance. Mackerel sits at the bottom of the shelf, consistently fully stocked, while tuna directly above it shows regular depletion patterns from customer traffic. That differential is not a quality signal, it is a familiarity signal, and it is producing a commercial outcome that disadvantages the consumer. Several large chains have communicated significant mackerel order reductions to seafood suppliers for 2026. The commercial reasoning is velocity-based. Mackerel turns more slowly than tuna, therefore it represents a less productive use of shelf space. This logic is commercially valid and nutritionally counterproductive simultaneously. A direct comparison: canned mackerel contains more omega-3 fatty acids per serving than canned salmon. It delivers more protein per ounce than name-brand canned tuna. It typically prices at approximately 1.50 cents per can compared to $5 a month for canned salmon and $2.50 for premium tuna. That is a nutritionally superior product at a substantially lower price point, and it is being removed because most shoppers have never been given a reason to choose it. One preparation variable changes the consumer experience of this product entirely: the packing medium. Mackerel packed in olive oil preserves flavor over time, adds caloric density, and eliminates the metallic quality associated with brine-packed versions. This single choice, olive oil versus brine, determines whether canned mackerel is a functional dietary staple or an unpleasant experience. The oil-packed version is the product worth acquiring. The omega-3 case for this product is strengthened when considered alongside sardines, which appear at position 2 in this analysis. Together, these two products form a nutritional pairing that will be addressed in detail at that point. Product 3, shelf-stable aseptic tofu, the overlooked complete protein with a year-long shelf life. Consumer resistance to tofu as a pantry item is understandable from a familiarity standpoint, but the resistance typically applies to refrigerated tofu products, a categorically different item from the shelf-stable version under analysis here. Aseptic packaged tofu, sold under brands such as Mori-Nu and available in both silken and firm varieties, uses ultra-high temperature processing and sealed multi-layer packaging to achieve a shelf life of 12 months or more at room temperature. It requires no refrigeration until opened and is not found in the refrigerated section. Its presence in the international or health food aisle of mainstream stores is shrinking as 2026 shelf space consolidation moves these products towards specialty retail. The specific gap this product fills is complete protein availability within shelf-stable food systems. A complete protein contains all 9 essential amino acids in proportions adequate for human physiological requirements. Most plant-based proteins are incomplete. Most shelf-stable complete proteins are animal-derived. Aseptic tofu is one of a very small number of shelf-stable complete protein sources that does not require refrigeration or cooking and is compatible with vegetarian, vegan, and multiple religious dietary frameworks. For households managing food allergies, dietary restrictions, or religious requirements that limit conventional animal protein sources, the absence of this product from mainstream grocery shelves removes a nutritional option with no straightforward replacement at the same price and shelf life combination. A preparation method that makes this product immediately versatile. Blending silken aseptic tofu directly into canned soup during heating produces a creamy texture increase and protein doubling with no detectable flavor modification. The tofu is completely invisible in this application. A single package at approximately 1.89 delivers 10 grams of complete protein with a year-long shelf life, representing a nutritional value density that has no equivalent at this price point. Product 2. Canned sardines in olive oil. The singular nutritional convergence available at under $2. The consumer rejection of sardines is among the most nutritionally costly preferences in the modern Western diet. The aversion is typically rooted in product form, brine-packed sardines with strong metallic character, rather than in the nutritional substance of the food itself. The olive oil-packed version of this product is a functionally different eating experience, and the distinction matters enormously to whether this product is evaluated accurately. The nutritional convergence delivered by a single serving of canned sardines in olive oil is documented across multiple databases, including NIH dietary reference materials and USDA food composition analysis. Sardines naturally contain vitamin D3, the cholecalciferol form, which is absorbed and utilized by the body more efficiently than D2, along with long-chain omega-3 fatty acids at concentrations that rival commercial fish oil supplements, and bioavailable calcium delivered through the fully softened, incorporated bones present in every canned sardine. These three nutrients, D3, omega-3s, and calcium, are rarely found in meaningful concentrations within a single whole food. In sardines, they coexist at under $2 per tin. The omega-3 content specifically addresses a chronic insufficiency documented across multiple national dietary surveys. Most populations in developed food economies consume omega-3 fatty acids well below recommended levels. Fish oil supplementation addresses this partially, but through an isolated extract format that lacks the additional nutritional context of the whole food. The pairing introduced at position 4 now completes here. 2 servings of mackerel per week, combined with 2 servings of sardines, covers the complete weekly omega-3 requirement, the daily vitamin D requirement, the calcium requirement, and delivers over 44 grams of complete protein, at a combined cost of under $4 on across 4 cans. This nutritional density profile does not exist anywhere else in a standard grocery store at any price point. Import logistics pressures and European supplier contract renegotiations are driving significant sardine order reductions at multiple major chains in 2026. The olive oil-packed format specifically is the version to acquire. The flavor profile is cleaner, richer, and longer-lasting through extended storage than either the brine-packed or tomato sauce-packed alternatives. We are almost at the final product. If this analysis has changed how you're thinking about your pantry, please hit like and subscribe. It genuinely helps. Drop a comment with which item you're going to pick up this week. Product 1. Canned jackfruit in brine. The import casualty at the intersection of unfamiliarity and logistical pressure. The distinction that must be established immediately. Canned jackfruit in syrup is a dessert product with high sugar content and no relevance to this analysis. Canned jackfruit in brine. Unripe jackfruit packed in salted water with no added sugar is a structurally unique food product with no genuine equivalent anywhere else in a standard grocery store. The uniqueness is textural and functional rather than merely categorical. When drained, rinsed, and shredded manually with a fork, a process requiring approximately 30 seconds, unripe jackfruit in brine produces a fibrous, pulled texture that is physically indistinguishable from shredded cooked poultry or pork in most culinary applications. This is not an approximation or a qualified comparison. It is a physical reality produced by the fiber architecture of unripe jackfruit, which mimics connective tissue separation in cooked animal proteins.